We'll do it live.
Play it once, Sam. Play as time goes by.
You must remember this. A kiss is just a kiss.
I hate this war so much. I don't know what's right any longer.
I do sometimes wonder if it's worth all this. I mean, what you're fighting for.
Might as well question why we breathe.
You knew how much I loved you. How much I still loved you.
He's looking at you, kid.
Hey, welcome to the lounge. It's a classic. Hi, Maria.
Hello.
So we're going to talk about Casablanca, which you had never seen.
No, I had not.
Yeah. So this is a classic evening. Oh, let me turn.
Turn your lights on. Ah, there
nice.
we go.
Okay. Yeah. So we got to watch Casablanca together, which you had never seen.
No, I had not.
Tricky mix drink for this Casablanca show. What did you come up with?
This is a French 75. So this is the drink that Humphrey Bogart, remember, he had that woman removed from the bar, and then she comes back later with the German guy.
Right.
This is the drink the German guy ordered.
That the Russian boyfriend was giving them, kept feeding me. I forget his name. There was a guy that was in love with her. Anyway.
Yes.
Yes. You saw the same film.
Yes, I did.
Hold it up to that camera, please. So let's take a nice.
There we go.
So long and luxurious.
Well, they drink them out of coupes, which are different shapes.
Okay, so what's the ingredients in this one?
Gin, because I wanted a gin drink because of all the gin joints.
Right.
Gin, lemon juice, simple syrup, and champagne.
Oh.
Thus the flute.
And a garnish.
And a garnish. They didn't garnish.
They did not garnish.
They did not garnish anything.
They were drinking a lot in this film.
They were drinking cognac.
Yep.
A lot of cognac.
Yep.
They were drinking champagne.
Right.
And they were drinking bourbon, which is kind of a nod to the Americans because bourbon has to be made in the U.S.
Okay. And then what's a Vichy water? Is that just literally water?
Yeah, I saw that Vichy water. My
water?
dad used to talk about Vichy water. I don't know.
Okay. Well, and they never finish their drinks, which from what I understand in movie making, it's to keep you interested. It's like drama, that they don't finish the drink. Things happen and they can't finish the drink. So anyway, we watched Casablanca.
Yes, we did.
Before we get into what your feelings on it, let's just say it's a movie.
It is a movie.
Okay. What's your first? Okay, it's a classic film. I am not an old movie guy.
Okay.
Old time movie guy at all. Mm-hmm. I obviously Casablanca's. Everybody knows it. You even knew about Casablanca. You just never
knew
seen
about it, and I'd heard all the lines from it.
Right, which we will discuss.
Yeah.
But
I had never seen it.
Okay, so I pulled up a couple of those. Now, they never said play it again, Sam.
No, they do not.
They only said, as it says up at the top, play it, Sam.
Yes.
And then, of course, of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. Right. He was looking at you, kid, which turns out he said about 8 dozen times. I didn't realize that.
That was a drinking game saying.
Exactly.
Every time you hear it, you should have taken a drink.
We'll always have Paris.
Yes. My
favorite, round up the usual suspects. I just thought that was great.
You did.
And the last line, Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Mm-hmm. So it's in there. Culturally speaking, it's in there. Because this is a film that has been studied, has been honored. There are classes based on this film, which when you watch the film, like in my 2024 eyes, I don't know how you felt about it for the first time. Do you understand all the hubbub about the film?
No.
Okay.
And I even looked it up and I still don't understand it.
Really?
And now you say there's classes on it? Like, what do they study?
Writing, some of the themes that are in the film. I mean, the fact that it was shot during World War II in 1942, it ended up winning the Oscar in 43. All the people making it had no idea that it was going to be the classic that it became. You can't predict that. I mean, like any classic, it's lightning in a bottle. But this one in particular, for some reason, hit the zeitgeist, and it's been like that since 1943, I guess. I don't know if it was the introduction of Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. I don't think so, but obviously they became huge after this. So what were your thoughts on the film?
I thought it was a nice story.
Okay.
I thought it was very pretty. I liked looking at it. I liked whoever their costume director was. I think they did a great job for a black and white film to have the different textures of the materials there. Like his crisp white, jackets, Humphrey Bogart's, and
Oh,
then
yeah,
the
it's
linen
gorgeous.
suits, I can't remember her husband's suits that he wore all
Right.
linen and
Victor.
just beautiful.
Victor.
And then the women were all in sequins and satins, things that would pick up light because it was black and white. So
Right.
they couldn't use a lot of color. And I thought they did a really nice job.
Cinematographer was the same cinematographer who shot Frankenstein.
Okay.
So the original Frankenstein. So he was very adept at the black and white look. And I think the black and white helped. Their budget wasn't huge, I don't believe. So they were able to do a lot of shadow work on the walls. And because it was black and white, you could do a lot more with less. And the film looks gorgeous. And you say it's a story. Is it a love story? Is it a war story? It's all that. It's everything. I don't think we need to go over the plot. I think everybody knows the plot.
For me, a war story is like much more war, like combat-ish. And this is about like
It was
the
based
lives
during the war,
outside
right.
the war, like out
Northern
away
Africa.
from that.
This came out. It came out the day that the Allies invaded North Africa and went into Casablanca, I believe. So the PR firm or whoever did the PR put this thing out the day the Allies were going into North
Right.
Africa. So there's to get that whole thing going on with the film. As I watched it, and again, I'm not a I'm not a huge fan because like I said, old-timey films just don't do it for me. Until the end, until the last scene at the airport. And I just went crazy. Because all the quotes are in that last. I mean, obviously, Play It Sam, all the gin joints in all the world. But the big quotes, the ones where everything's, the hill of beans, that's not even on that list.
Yeah.
It's just two people, a hill of beans, whatever he says there. And all the stuff that they did around that airport scene. And the fact that they didn't know, like Ingrid Bergman had no idea which person she was supposed to be in love with. Because she basically was in love with both her husband and with Rick
Right.
Blaine, Humphrey Bogart. And she kept asking the director, who am I supposed to end up with? He says, you know what, let's just keep it, we don't know. Just You love them both.
Right.
Because they had no idea what the ending was going to be, right up until the end. And it frustrated the hell out of her because she needs that motivation. So as the movie goes on, she can change how she's going to act her scenes. As a matter of fact, some of the scenes that she says she didn't know was going to happen, like they shot the airport scene before they shot the scene of them in that last scene they have in the apartment where she points the gun at him and says, I need those papers.
Yeah.
The transfer papers, which were just boondoggle, that's like the red herring. There is no such thing. There was no such thing as transport papers. They just made that up for the film. And it was such an integral part of the film. So all that intrigued me as a person who loves filmmaking and films. Storyline, okay. But did you find it a romantic? Did it pull at your heartstrings that this guy would end up doing what he did, which was let her go and go with her husband for the good cause? The whole point was it's a good cause.
Right. Well, I felt like they set that up all along. Like they kept emphasizing that he was a gun runner for the cause, and he did this for the cause, and he was always on the side of right, whether he was on the side of money. No, he was always on the side of right. He just happened to have a lot of money too. So to me, that to have him go with Ingrid Bergman and leave that guy to die or go back to a concentration camp just didn't make sense.
Right.
So I never expected him. Like I was shocked when in the last scene they all of a sudden started talking about Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart leaving. I was like, really? I didn't think that was, and then it didn't happen. So
right. Well, he had set that up with the police inspector that played by who's that actor? Damn it, I just lost it.
I don't know.
The cheat little French
guy.
inspector.
He's a good guy.
He was funny. He was great.
Funny. He was a
the
good character.
comedic thing in the. I'll look it up. I'll look it up at who he played. Everybody knows. It doesn't matter. Everybody knows out there who's in this movie. Mm-hmm. Well, he had set that up so that guy would go along with him, thinking he was going to let him go. But again, we had just had that scene where that young couple needed to get away, and he let that kid win at roulette, take all the money, get the transport papers, and leave. So we know that he's always for the underdog, and he even says that. He says, "I'm for the," even though in the whole movie he's playing it right down the middle. Mm-hmm. He has no until he lets them play the French national anthem in the thing when the Nazis are singing their song, and he lets them play. So he was, a little bit and pieces were shining throughout the film.
Right.
And I don't know. I didn't, I can't imagine having seen this in 1942 when it came out if you would think that he was going to go with her. I have no idea. And it wasn't until that scene that I realized at the airport that they slept together the night before. Mm-hmm. Like they don't, obviously the code at that time, the ethics code wouldn't let them show that. I think the guy who wrote it or produced it said, hey, if we could have done it, we would have shown squeaking beds and they would have been howling if we could have done it. Because they implied that they slept together, but they never flat out said it.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to... I mean, it's difficult because you're so matter of fact about the way you handle these things that you can't even get into the lore. I don't know. It's an interesting thing talking about these things because it is you just don't give in. You don't give anything. Well, you're funny.
I guess I'm just not a romantic. I'm not a romantic comedy kind of person. Okay. I'm not a romantic. I'm not. There's never flower petals anywhere. I mean, that's just not who I am.
You wouldn't want what? Okay.
No.
Okay.
I mean,
that sounded like a complaint.
No, it's not a complaint at all. I'm not. That's just not. So, like, to me, trying to figure out why this movie is classic was like such a conundrum to me because it's a good movie. It's an enjoyable movie. It's a movie that you go to and you have a little escape for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you go on with the world.
Yeah.
But classic, I don't know. It's a good script.
Yeah.
Best ever? No, but good. But
studied. It has been studied.
Yeah.
And copied.
Right. Good actors.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, everything's good.
You understand it's a stone cold classic.
I understand.
Cold.
I'm not fighting that.
No, I know.
I just don't understand why. And nobody has been able to tell me why. Everybody says it's a lovely film. It won, it seems to be a classic because it won Best Picture. What if it hadn't won Best Picture?
Good question. Good question. I mean, Forrest Gump won Best Picture.
See, that's not a classic movie to me either.
Do you think that one deserved Best Picture? And you know what it was up against?
What was it up against?
Pulp Fiction.
Even remember. Pulp Fiction. That was a good movie.
And John and what's his name? Tom Hanks was up against Samuel L. Jackson for Pulp Fiction. Okay, so Oscars aren't. They're not the bellwether of whether a film is going to be a classic or not because many Crash is another example. That movie Crash. Right. Okay, those are. But yeah, why did it become a stone cold? That's the lightning in the bottle aspect of any of this. I think, like I said, when they were writing it and doing it, they had no idea what they had. I mean, how could you even predict that it was going to be the film that it became in people's culture? And it's in your DNA. I mean, these lines that we've heard, you've heard all of them.
Yeah.
Now we have context of where they came out of, but I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not defending the film.
No, I know you're not. I'm just I just have yet to get a clear answer as to why it's a classic. If you want to tell me why Jaws is a classic, they can always tell me it's the building of suspense. It's the fact that you don't ever see the shark, but yet you're petrified or you're scared of the shark. Right. All these techniques.
And that movie was made out of mistakes and it worked out.
All those things. Okay. But this movie,
Well, I think it's the same idea. It's the same idea where they had no idea what they had. It's this mishmash of, they knew Bogey was great. They knew Ingrid Bergman is great. And look at all the character actors they threw in there. Peter Lorre. Now I have to get the list because it's going to drive me crazy that I don't remember.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me just keep talking.
So, you can have all the wonderful people in the world. It's still not a classic. I agree with that. I keep circling back. And I looked on the internet and I Googled it a million times. What makes this a classic? And nobody could really come up with, for me, a clear answer.
Well, what were you reading? Because I read one where it just broke down everything and it explained what the writing meant and why it's a film about loyalty and a film about patriotism. And it hit all the things 1942 when there's World War going on that is why it worked out so well. It was this chemical mix that you can't even, if you try to recreate it, and they've tried, there's been Casablanca prequels and Casablanca's TV series, it just cannot capture that magic that this film captured. I mean, yeah, it's hard to explain. It just is. Okay, so obviously Rick Blaine, oh, by the way, Casablanca, we watched it on a laser disc, which made it even more fun. Rick Blaine, Humphrey Bogart, Ilse Lund, Ingrid Bergman, Victor Laszlo, Paul Henreid, Captain Louis Renault, Claude Rains. Okay, I don't know why I didn't remember that. Major Heinrich Strasser, Conrad Veidt, Ferrari, that big guy at the parrot, the black parrot or the blue parrot? Blue parrot. The other bar. By the way, this is our little speakeasy too. We like this is like our little place. Sydney Greenstreet, Peter Lorre, who started the whole thing off by giving him those transmit, what do you call them?
Papers?
The papers that he hid in the piano. Sam, of course, music. Sam played again. Sam played by Dooley Wilson. I read all kinds of stuff that they didn't want that song in there. Like the original, the guy who composed all the film didn't want As Time Goes By in there. I mean, can you imagine?
I did like the musical score too. I thought that was really good, and they did not win the Oscar for that.
They did not. I didn't know. Okay.
No, they did not, and that surprised me because I thought it was really good.
He scored King Kong as well.
Oh, really?
Which is that's what I mean. All these people. I think that's part of the chemical mix. And Michael Curtiz, the director, I think for Warner Brothers or whoever he produced this or directed this for, I think he was a highly successful director. So they had all the right ingredients. Now that doesn't always work, and I think Ridley Scott's The Counselor can prove that. Yeah. That you can have all the right ingredients, good writer, good director, great actors, and have a terrible film, which I happen to love, by the way. But is that on our list? Have you seen The Counselor?
What's The Counselor?
There you go. The answer is no. And it just worked. And I think it has a lot to do with the timing of the film taking place during World War II, while World War II was going on. The fact that they put it out while the invasion was happening in Africa, or the whatever was going on in Africa. And you got Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman. I mean, come on. And how do you... So from a film person who loves films, and, I can understand why it's a stone cold classic. Did I kind of giggle in certain places, and I don't like theatrical? There's something about the acting back in those days that always drives me crazy. Although I have to admit, this one was more subtle than usual. There's some in-your-face jokes. I love that one where I said, "No gambling here. Here's your winnings, Captain." Yeah. Whatever. It's funny stuff. That was great humor in there. But I don't want to do all the talking. So does this make you want to watch other Humphrey Bogart films?
No.
I mentioned African Queen, which you've never seen either.
No.
No desire, huh?
He is who he is. I mean... Okay. Is he, before I saw this, I've never seen a Humphrey Bogart. So this is the first Humphrey Bogart movie I've ever seen. So in my head, I had him a gangster. For some reason, I had him in those old gangster movies. I don't know if that's even what he did, but in my head, that's the genre I had him.
Yeah.
So seeing him in that, I was like, oh, I can see where you would cast him as a gangster because, the cigarette dangling out of his mouth, the way he speaks, his cadence, his accent, all that. I can see that. But to me, I'll watch another one and just to see if I'm right or wrong. But to me, he's seemed to be somebody who is similar. Yeah. Well, if you have that impression of him, he's not far off that impression. That's what made him famous. That's what he did. Right. You didn't see the Caine Mutiny with me? I don't think you did. You didn't watch the Caine Mutiny. Is that the one with the Puig with the Mongols? Yeah, I've seen the Caine So he's Mutiny. In the original film version of it. Okay. It's it's a different. He plays it. Obviously, he's not a gangster in that one, but he's going a little crazy, and he has some good scenes where he's playing off his rocker kind of deal. Or was he off his rocker? That's the beauty of it. You don't quite know. It's all perception at that point. People's perspectives, actually. So that's an interesting one. But African Queen. I'm trying to think of other ones I've seen. I've seen African Queen, Maltese Falcon, all that kind of stuff. And there's another gangster one where he plays it a little that we watched on the other podcast we did. And again, it was very acty. You just get it. I don't like that. Hey, the gangster acting stuff. I like stuff compare Elliot Gould playing the same character that he played in the Maltese Falcon. I think it's the same. The Long Goodbye and the Maltese Falcon. The detective is the same character. And you look at Robert Altman's version with Elliot Gould versus what they did with Humphrey Bogart, and it's obviously it's different, but I prefer the Elliot Gould version to stuff. So I don't know. I don't think there's other ones on here. Citizen Kane is still on here, so you haven't seen that. So that'll be another interesting. Now that's the one. That is I think that's the story. That's Rosebud, right? Yes. Okay, yeah. So that one, I think and that's the newspaper guy, correct? Hearst, yes. And we saw Mank. Yes, we saw Mank. Which was David Fincher's film about the writer of Citizen Kane. Right. Yeah. I think Citizen Kane, I just, as a natural, might be more interested in, just because, I majored in journalism, I wrote for newspapers, Hearst kind of intrigues me anyway, his whole like empire and how he built it.
Right.
So I think it's a story I might be more interested in.
I can see that. I can see
this
that.
one,
Because you're not a romantic.
I'm not. I mean,
Turns
I'll
out.
watch a romantic movie. I'll watch a romantic comedy. There's just not. That's just not how life works. And so sometimes
well, I know,
I guess
but that's
that
the point of movies. Life. You're supposed to go to movies to escape life.
exactly
And get things that you want. I mean, that's the whole point. And you don't feel that.
What do you mean I don't feel that?
You don't escape life by going to the movies?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely do.
Okay.
But I guess it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's a good movie. I'm glad I saw it.
Thank you, Maria. I'm glad you
I'm
said that.
glad I saw it.
I don't know if you know this, but it's a Criterion Collection classic.
I know.
Okay?
And everybody always talks about it. And I wanted to love it. I wanted to
know
be
you
like,
did.
this is the best movie ever. And I can't.
And listen, I was with you watching the film going, okay, I don't get it either until the end. And all that stuff. And I tell you why. Partly, that's the exact scene that Play It Again, Sam, the Woody Allen film, starts with. It starts with the airport scene. And it's all about his love of Humphrey Bogart and that film and how he uses Humphrey Bogart to help him get dates in the movie. It's kind of, I watched it after I watched Casablanca last night, and boy, is it dated. It is dated and almost unfunny in the sense that it's cringy funny because it's Woody Allen, number one, and some of the stuff he's doing. But it is about his love of Casablanca and the persona of Humphrey Bogart or Rick Blaine. And I dug that. And it did make me appreciate Casablanca more. And it's funny. I walked away with more appreciation for it. And I thank you for allowing that to happen because you had never seen the film before. Do you want to rate it? I mean, I don't know. How do you rate this? It's a Stone Cold classic. Just remember that.
Yeah, it is Stone Cold classic.
So what's your rating?
2 people who watch movies.
Yes, 2
I'm giving
people.
it a 3.
A 3. Okay. And what were the strong points for you in the film? Do you have a favorite scene?
Do I have a favorite scene?
Or character?
Or character. I do like the police chief or whatever. I do like him. I thought he was funny. He was good comedic relief.
Yeah, he was a good backstop
and
for Rick.
He did it really well. And, and I liked that he wasn't, like, he was like this little guy around there. He wasn't like, like the people in the movie weren't movie starish looking. Like the kid, they were character actors. So I appreciated that.
Yeah. Although I don't know if I'd call Claude Rains a character actor. I'm not 100% sure.
That's true.
I think he did The Invisible Man. I might be wrong. I always thought he was taller too because he really played short in this one. And I don't know if he's that short. I mean, he has to. I don't know. Okay. So
I know. So
you liked him.
I appreciated that people looked like people.
Yeah.
Except for the women were fabulous looking.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a really favorite scene. I mean, everybody loves the very ending. Yeah, whatever. That to me is just, what you're supposed to say.
You're so cynical. You're so cynical.
I don't have a favorite scene.
It's painful almost.
But my favorite part really was the look of the movie.
Yes.
That I really
it is gorgeous.
It's just beautiful. And I really did love the use of texture and light and the way, they had that working in the shadows and everything. I just thought it was really thoughtful and nice. So I liked that. So I enjoyed that. Yeah.
No, definitely. And the interplay of the music, they used a lot of music.
And the music was
that
very good.
knock knock song they were trying, I think I was reading that they were trying to get that to be a hit. And then of course the French thing and the German and there's a woman in there playing a guitar or something. I don't know what her thing was. And of course, Sam, the piano player, who he didn't know how to play the piano, that guy. He had to fake all that, which I just find, there's another piano guy in the background playing it, and he had to mimic.
He was just mimicking it.
Which, it's so funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I don't even hit a 5 because I know it's a Stone Cold classic. But again, I go into these things cynical too because I don't like homey, old-timey movies. But I had to give it up at the end because I just felt like that scene, that airport scene, did it all, wrapped it all up. And it's everything is in that airport scene. All his motivations, the backstabbing each other are doing. He shoots the German there, round up all the suspects, beautiful friendship. I mean, that scene, and that's why it starts at the beginning of Play It Again, Sam. That's the exact. So I went from watching this to seeing it up, and it's like, okay, that's the scene that did it for me. So, all right, well, very exciting. The next big classic for you is going to be Citizen Kane if we spin it. So we'll see. There's a few crappy ones in between. This is going to be fun. All right, so that was fun. Now we'll do the 10 questions.
Okay.
And then we'll pick your next film. Okay. So let's see what this is going to be. It's in my headphones. In my head.
It's in your headphones?
Oh, okay. Okay. Give a movie quote. So, what the hell? Let's do your favorite quote from Casablanca. Do you need to see the list again, or do you think you got it?
I don't know.
Are you kidding me, right?
No, I'm not kidding you.
You're
I just
so
don't.
funny.
I mean, they're just there's so many quotes from there that they have become cliches. Like they've gone from the
Definitely cliches.
It's a great quote to it's a cliche now. So just here's looking at you, kid. There you go.
Here's looking at you, kid. Now you got sick of that quote.
Yeah, I did.
Every time they said it, I didn't
Exactly.
realize he said it 12 times in the film.
Yeah.
It's probably 6, but still, I exaggerated.
Yeah. What about you?
So here's looking at you, kid, and that quote is in your brain. You can that
Right.
is there
That's
forever.
why it's the only thing I can remember at this point.
All right, my favorite is round up all the usual suspects, and I laughed out loud when he said it at the end. I think I quoted it right before he did.
Yes, you did.
And I just think that's the greatest. Round up the usual suspects, and that's what Usual Suspects was all about. That movie. I mean, and so many of these, the Hill of Beans, the Here's Looking at You, Kid. I think some of these are even movie titles that they've done. We'll Always Have Paris. I mean, it's in there. That's why it's a stone cold classic, and you get to see it. So you must have been very excited. All right. What's the next exciting movie you're going to watch?
Ooh, I don't know. Let's see.
Oh, I love your fake enthusiasm.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Showgirls?
I forgot. I snuck this one on the list. Okay, this one also is a stone cold classic. Do you know anything about Showgirls? I know
Let's
you
see.
do.
Elizabeth Berkley.
That's right. From Save from the
lost her whole
Save from the Bell.
career
She
due to
did
this.
unfairly. By the way,
Unfairly, the director
Unfairly.
even came out and said it was his fault. She followed direction perfectly.
Yep.
It was his direction. Right. But of course, we're going to blame the woman.
Not we. I mean, they do. But you're gonna. Yeah. Okay. I can't. I have this on Laserdisc as well.
Oh.
I also have it on beautiful Blu-ray, I believe. Directed by Paul Verhoeven. Is that his name? Paul Verhoeven? Anyway, director of RoboCop and Basic Instinct. And, of course, Showgirls. A lot of people in this film. I can't wait to watch it with you. This one, I think I might record us watching this one because it's going to be crazy. I can't believe how did I sneak that on the list?
I don't know.
How did that get on there?
I
have no
don't know.
idea.
I
have no
don't
idea.
recall.
Well, it's Showgirls. Maybe we have to bring Chris over. He might want to watch it too. Maybe Chris and Jen might want to watch Showgirls with us, and we could do a little thing. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. There'll be more classics coming. I love your takes. I just find you hilarious about how you're just so chill about these things that people, they do. People go to college based on this film. People make films based on all these films. It's amazing. So.
What do you mean they make films based on this
They
film?
They got into film because of this film. Like a lot of people got into film because they saw Pulp Fiction and they go, that's what I want to do. I mean, Tarantino obviously is a perfect example of someone who loved film so much that he just went and did it.
Right. I mean, I get that. I mean, I went to school for journalism.
Because of
Watergate.
That's right.
Because my dad made me watch the trials. Every day I would come home. He got the transcripts from the government
But that's
printing
not a
press.
movie. Did you see All the President's Men?
But the Washington Post, every
I
day
understand.
he had to read it. And
Right.
then saw All the President's Men. And, that solidified that I wanted to do that.
A lot of people became journalists because of that film and that era.
Right.
Still to this day. I mean, they
Right.
credit that. So that's the same thing with this film and many films that people go, that's the one. For me, it was Jaws. there's a particular point where you realize that a director has a lot to do with the way a film is made and done. And Jaws was the one at my early 15, 14 years old where I went, the DNA get in there and was, oh, so that's what that guy does.
Right.
And it's fascinating. So it's always interesting for someone who's not a complete movie crazy person like most of us are to hear your takes on these. So I appreciate it. And I hope everybody out there appreciates it. I'm sure they do. So Showgirls. Nice. All right, let's go.
Cheers.
Cheers.